What's happening, Wes?
Much, Brian. Just chilling on this nice, quiet Wednesday afternoon. What's going on with you?
I can't tell. Are you being facetious? Is it a quiet Wednesday afternoon?
No, it really is. It's just been a nice day. Not a
Nice.
lot happening. Just I mean, other than the usual work, but yeah, time for break, right?
Yeah, I mean for sure. This is actually a nice surprise because no one except you and I know this. But last night I was like, dude, I haven't been sleeping, and I'm trying to fix my sleep schedule, and like my microphone's all broken. So I was like, let's just cancel tomorrow, and I can get everything sorted out between Wednesday and Thursday, and be back up on Friday. So it's really nice when it feels like you weren't going to do something and then you do. It feels like it just seems nice knowing we didn't have to do this and we're here completely voluntarily. Sirens on my end. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. I didn't know what I was going to do, man. You texted me last night saying, probably unless something crazy happens, no show tomorrow. So I say, well, you know what? I haven't done a show on Virtual Strangers in a while. Why don't I hit Roots up and see if he wants to go? And wouldn't you know it, Roots also having computer problems.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, so I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll just stream some gameplay or something. But then we had, things happen this
Mm-hmm.
morning. Keys hit the inbox, and all of a sudden your setup starts working again magically.
At least
So like I
temporarily.
said at the top,
We'll see what
yeah,
happens.
like I said at the top, it's just been a nice day so far.
Nice. Nice. Well, you can all blame me for there not being a virtual strangers stream tonight. I think that's the takeaway from this.
It's all your fault, Brian.
As always, let's start the show. This is PSVR Gamescast Live. We film live every single Monday, WesDay, and 2 Eyes Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live 6 p.m. Eastern for your viewing pleasure, but we care oh so much about your oral pleasure. That's why we put this up on podcast services of your choice. Your choice, not mine. My name is Brian Powell from this channel right here without Parole. And this gentleman over here, it's Wes Dillon from Virtual Strangers. Gee, what's up, Wes?
Hola, mi amigos, ¿cómo estás?
Uh, muy bien. ¿Y tú?
See?
That's as far as we get, huh?
Yeah, that's as much as I know. I used to know a few more words back in my restaurant days because the entire kitchen was illegal, and only like two of them spoke any English at all. So I had to learn a little bit, but that was some 20 years ago. So I've lost most of that, as I have most of the things I learned in school, all
Yeah.
gone.
For sure. I took 5 years. That's right, 5 years of Spanish in high school, and and then I spent about a decade working in a Spanish restaurant. And so you think I would know more than I do, but I don't. I will say the kitchen staff who all spoke Spanish. I mean, they're super smart, man. They all worked at a restaurant in the United States, and over the course of the time that they worked there, they all learned English. And they all learned English, like I mean, like fluently. You know what I mean? Like talk about hard workers. And meanwhile, it's like I'm stumbling to say anything to them in Spanish. But I don't know, man. I always think you got to be pretty smart to be able to do that. I always wish that here in the States they just taught you Spanish or other languages from the get go, like when you're a kid, right? Because that's when your brain's all soft and mushy and can absorb stuff. Not when you're like in your 30s and it's like, oh, I'm fucking. It's too much THC up there for me to possibly learn
Right.
anything new.
Right. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that a lot of the data loss that I've experienced has been burnt out over the years.
The virtual resistance says, how does Wes know they're illegal? Did he ask him for their documents? Dude, you don't understand how close people get in restaurants. Like, it's not like these are people that you pass by. You know these people more intimately than your best friends, than your family. You spend your lives with these people, like 12 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week. And so I don't even have to ask Wes. You know things about these people that no one else does. That's it.
Yeah, I always used to refer people to the movie Waiting. If no one's ever seen Waiting, you should watch it. It's a comedy movie, but it's pretty close to a documentary of what it at least was like during that era to serve at a restaurant or work at a restaurant in general. But yeah, no, I knew that most of them were illegal. You know, I was friendly with quite a lot of them. And I used to mess with them all the time and tell them I was going to call immigration on them and stuff like that. I guess those jokes wouldn't go over so well in today's day and age, but back then it was all good fun.
Yep. Definitely a different atmosphere today. Kill Artist 1, the Dreamweaver Game Cat with the $5 says, aha, my body got tired of exercising in VR just in time to catch the start of the show. Sweet. Hey, cats. Hey, Kill Artist. What's up, everybody? Hopefully everyone's having a nice day. Yeah, I'm having a nice day. Sounds like Wes is having a nice day. So hopefully you guys are all having a nice day. I saw that Scott is on the mend. Everyone send some love to Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for life. Everything's good. What do you mean don't listen to Wes? Waiting's a terrible movie. I don't think it's a great movie, but it was shockingly accurate what it's like to work in the restaurant industry back then, at least. It's a mess.
Yeah, it was my life at that point in time.
Wes, let's get off of this current topic and move on to something I think exciting, I guess. Hold on a second. Before we do anything, this is gonna be a dream. I'm gonna wake up and be like, what the hell just happened? This can't be right.
It disappeared on my screen anyway.
Yeah, it's got to be a dream. Ian Barron just left a 500-pound tip, and then retracted the message. Yo, let me know if that was an accident, and then let me. We'll figure this out. But make sure that if you have something to say, you type it in the chat, and we will pay attention to you, man. Thank you so much for the generosity. It's insane. Also, I don't think when you retract the tip, it actually retracts the tip.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us know if you need a do-over on that one, man. If not, that's quite generous of you. But even if you were trying to donate 50 pence, we appreciate it, right?
For sure. All right. We're going to tackle some PSVR2 news while we figure out what's going on with Ian here. And I think we're going to kick it off with something that's been sort of kicking around in the PSVR2 rumor mill for a really, really long time. And that's an update on Blade and Sorcery. Quick shout out to everybody in our Discord, everyone in our community who points these things out and links to them and posts them in our news channel, because man, we've got eyes everywhere, and there's no way that I could track all this down myself. And so shout out to everyone who makes my life easier and posts this stuff and is actively out there asking about PSVR2 for like every game on every platform. So this is Blade and Sorcery PSVR2 over on the PSVR subreddit. So, hey everyone, sorry if this has been asked before, but I was just wondering, do we have any updates or news about the PSVR2 port hinted a while back? Again, sorry if this was asked recently. If anybody doesn't remember, there was, there were always rumors it was coming to PSVR1, but it sounded like the developers weren't fans of the Move controllers, as many people weren't. And they said, as far as PSVR2 is concerned, it'll depend on what the controllers are like. And then we get the best controllers. We have the best VR controllers on the market. And they're like, well, obviously it's going to happen, right? These guys should be happy. But then they just kind of went radio silent. So the response they got here on Reddit was, hey, Cosby is finally looking into this right now. He has a dev kit and is exploring the port. There are a couple of technical issues, but is generally looking pretty good for PSVR2. There's no official announcement yet, just yet, because we want to be 100% sure that the port will work well. There is also a few question marks we need to figure out, most glaring being mods. It seems likely Sony will not allow us to have mods or require modding oversight under a structure that is unsustainable for us to supervise as a small indie studio. So probably that means PSVR2 modding will be impossible to add, but we want to be 100% sure that's the case before any official announcements. What are we thinking about all this, Wes?
Well, I'm thinking that they finally ran out of shit to do on the other platforms and are finally getting around to exploring PSVR2. I think it's cool, this is a fairly popular title in the overall VR sphere. I mean, it does have its own kind of spot in the history of the development of the VR catalog. This one's been around for quite some time and has been evolving constantly. So while maybe not my favorite game, I know that there's a lot of people that are really going to dig it. So even if it takes, another year or two for this to make its way into the catalog, I'm generally happy about that. So it's good that they're looking into it. And I do believe that this is something that we will eventually see, unless they come across some like wall that they just can't get around, and I don't expect that to be the case. So good news.
Yeah. Super good news. In fact, like for all the people out there who love swordsman, this is some of the greatest news we could get, because even just looking at this extremely old footage, like I definitely need to download some new trailers for Blade and Sorcery. As far as I know, this is years old. But looking at the arenas here, and looking at the verticality and the traps and just all the stuff you can do here that you can't do in Swordsman, this was always the appeal for me. Right? It was just like you get to utilize the arena more, and I was always surprised that Swordsman didn't ever quite get a hold on that. So this is exciting news. I mean, I'm not for me probably, because I'm the guy that was looking forward to the Swordsman adventure that we never got, and ended up really digging that part of Undead Citadel. But it is good news for everybody, because I know this is a super super popular game on other platforms.
So for what it's worth, this game, fairly recently, relatively recently in the grand scheme of things, did add a limited but still somewhat fun campaign mode. So there are levels to play through in this game now, and you do work towards some end goal. It does have some like loose lore and story to it, and in many ways gave us the update that we wanted from Swordsman. So that's the way I prefer to play it. Like, I'm not a big fan of arenas or like sandbox, which is the bread and butter of this game. But the campaign mode that they added into it was fairly solid and is my preferred way to play.
And what do we feel about part 2 of this story, the mods being an issue? Because obviously this is a huge part of the game on PC, and them not being able to bring like just official mod support over. Do we think that's going to be an issue, or do you think they'll just be able to make it like just official pieces of DLC, the popular stuff that made it into that people use on the PC?
I wouldn't expect anything like that. It'll probably just go largely missing, but that's not surprising, right? Like we've seen this time and again in both flat titles and VR titles. Sony just doesn't allow users the opportunity to infringe on copyright in any way. So mods just are not supported on console, and that's just how it is. And you're right, this is a significant part of the game, especially for people who play on PC. So yeah, I mean, I guess if it were surprising, I would be a little bit more disappointed about it, but I never expected that part of the game to make it over here anyway. So like, I'm not shocked.
Now it's Ryan in the chat says Cube got around the mod issue by including a big pack of mods with the base game. That's what I got in my head. The stuff that people really enjoy, the stuff that doesn't seem like it's copyright infringement. There's a conversation in this very Reddit thread about whether lightsabers are copyrighted, and it's like the list of games that have lightsaber like weapons or devices in them. I can't imagine all of those studios got permission from fucking Lucasfilm or Disney in order to be able to do that. You think lightsabers are just free reign now?
I would think so for the most part. Like, I'm sure context matters, right? The scene and setting and the way that you're using them. Um, but yeah, laser swords, I guess, are a generic enough idea that that they probably wouldn't win in court if they considered it worth it to even go to court over something like this. If there were a lot more VR gamers and there was a lot of money to be made in publishing VR games, there would probably be a lot more stink about stuff like that. But I just think it's such small potatoes right now for a company like Disney that they're just like, whatever, let them do what they want.
Ian Barron, I checked out my analytics, and it looks like you retracted your tip in time, so it is all good. I'm glad you were able to get that back without it becoming an issue. Once it's actually in my hands, it becomes an issue. So not in my hands. Everyone, be careful when you're tipping. We appreciate your generosity, but we don't want you to give more than you intended to. The Game Cat Andrew Aaron Reich with the $5 says, after the bombshell dropped at the end of the Monday night's Gamescast, I need to know. The people need to know. How does Wes feel about Cosmodread? AJ proved that he's a fucking dirty traitor, Wes. That's what we learned at the end of Monday's show, and doesn't like Cosmodread. Rating it out of 10. It hurts me just to say this. Pains me to say these numbers out loud, even with the decimal point. 5.9 out of 10. What the fuck is that?
Well, maybe he's on that alternate scale that we've talked about before, Brian, where a 5 is an average game, and if 5 is an average game, then 6 is above average. I don't know. Maybe he's saying it's slightly below average, or maybe he's saying it's slightly above. If he's saying it's slightly above, then I agree. I like Cosmodread.
He had nothing but hate to spew on this game.
I like Cosmodread. It is a bit limited in scope. It's not the most game, but I mean, if it were longer, I don't know that the format would work, right? Because you have to pretty much make it through it in one run. It's true roguelite in that sense. But I enjoy it. I think the atmosphere is certainly creepy. It's a very dark game. It is challenging. And the enemies have a very unique look to them. They're gross, dude. So no. Generally, as a horror fan, this is one of the better kind of like space horror games that you can get in VR. Even if you can run through it in 90 minutes, if you're good.
Oof, I was not good. It took me, I think, 8 hours to finally beat this one. I went through. I've talked to people. I know that Dan over at Skydance, he finished it on like his second or third run or something like that. And I was like, what? Like for me, my progression through Cosmodread was exactly what the developers intended. You could tell, right? I was slowly unlocking the story. I was slowly unlocking items and things to craft, and slowly getting more powerful and having those options available to me on every single run. At the beginning, it just felt impossible, and then eventually, really like started opening up, and I was able to get creative with my runs. But still very difficult when I finally get around to ending it or completing it.
Yeah, the second half of it is extremely difficult, especially on your first playthroughs, because there's always that one thing that hasn't happened yet that sneaks up on you unexpectedly and kills you and kills your run, which kind of sucks. So you have to remember that thing when you get back through it and do it the next time. If I had to be critical of it, I think that it could have been more well balanced. They give you a lot to unlock, and you unlock it relatively slowly. But I think the way the game is, man, you by the time you're making it through the game, you've barely unlocked any of it. Like it seems like they expected people to pretty universally have to run it a lot more times than you actually end up having to run it to get through it.
I'm not going to read Looper's comment here because it's kind of a spoiler, I think, what he's writing in the chat about Cosmodread. I learned this very important thing about the enemies again at the right time. Many runs through the game, learning it through an audio recording, some of the crew logs that you find. Again, just I was listening to it, going, "Wait a minute, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" Like, I've been kind of at a certain point, the game tells you, "Hey, you've been playing this wrong for a little while. Like, you didn't even know that there's this whole mechanic." And I'm like, "God damn it!" So because I feel like I kind of learned everything as I was supposed to, and played it the way that the developer intended. Just coincidentally, I wasn't doing anything differently intentionally than anyone else was. I loved it. 8.9. I recognize its faults. It uses adaptive triggers. I mean, it doesn't utilize adaptive triggers the way that it could. The black, it looks very gray in terms of stuff that we're familiar with on PSVR2. You could certainly use those darker blacks from the OLED panels to give it a creepier tone overall. There's a ton of things they could do, but it's a $15 game that I just fell in love with. So I don't need to defend it anymore. That wasn't the question. Andrew was asking what you thought of it, and now we know. What do we got next? We got Kill Artist 1, the Dreamweaver Game Cat with the $5 tip, says just got out of playing the Crystal Hunt, which is the campaign, and it's got a pretty good RPG like ability upgrade system. I think it has bosses too. Wait, why is my brain broken? I just got out of playing the Crystal Hunt.
Blade and Sorcery is what he's talking about, Jesus. And he's correct on both counts. Yeah, it's got a pretty good progression system. The only kind of negative I have about the Crystal Hunt is that sometimes it gets a little repetitive, but that's to be expected for a campaign mode that was just kind of tacked on, right? Like it was never meant to be that. But the progression systems and stuff that they have in there are actually pretty detailed and well planned out. It's not like Legendary Tales or anything like that, but it's certainly sufficient to sustain hours of gameplay.
Wes, let's tackle some Crave. This is a game I was looking forward to by 3R Games, who made Thief Simulator, which kind of made me not look forward to it. But it's a game all about exploring caves, spelunking, using some tools at your disposal. And we got some keys this morning. So thanks, 3R. Appreciate it. But let's talk about this, man. Straight right off the bat, I got to say that I was impressed by the way everything looked. After seeing the trailers, I sort of had an image in my head about how I expected this thing to look on PSVR2. The blacks, the super high resolution, the insanely high frame rate. These are all things that I expected and very happily saw once I was in the game. I think this game looks great for what it is. And I think that's a good place to start. We can talk about the gameplay in a second. Were you happy with the way it looked? First impression?
Yeah, for the most part, there's not a lot to complain about with regard to how the game looks. I mean, obviously, the scenario that you're in, there's not a lot of visual diversity. It is a natural scene, however, and they did a pretty good job of nailing that atmosphere. The textures are super high resolution, which they need to be in this case, because like a lot of the narrow passageways that you're crawling through, in terms of the actual geometry of it, they're really just flat tubes, but it doesn't look like a flat tube because the wallpaper textures that they put on it are very high detailed with like nice shadow effects and stuff kind of just drawn into them. And even with your nose right up to the wall, it appears like it has a 3D a 3D surface when in reality it's actually just perfectly smooth. Besides that, when you get into like the larger openings, the geometry changes and there are bumps and things to the walls. The water puddles that I saw look great. Like it was what you would expect muddy, murky water to look like, and the physics were pretty good with that. So yeah, visually, not a lot to complain about here.
Yeah. Uh, the water puddles are so great. I don't know what it is. Anytime I see water in a game, immediately I want to play in it. I want to splash around in it. You know, this goes all the way back to PlayStation 2 era, right? Like when water effects started being really cool. I remember seeing them in like Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance and just being blown away by how cool the water physics were, followed by like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it's just continued nonstop since then. And this was really nice. And the little water pools tend to be below where there's water dripping from the ceiling. And if you put your little gloves out and it drip, you can feel it dripping on your hand, which is pretty cool. Little touches, that I'm really happy to see. But at its core, it's a cave exploration game. You're going in and it's just a maze of all these really small tunnels, and you're really just trying to make it from one end to the other. But since the whole game kind of looks the same, you've got to do what I'm showing on the screen right here, and that's every so often you'll find this like shiny boulder rock on the wall where you can draw with chalk. And this is where you give yourself hints or trying to like diagram maps where you've been, where you haven't been. And that's the core of the game, I think, is trying to create a mental map and a physical map in order for you to find your way out, so that when you see these drawings again, you're like, oh shit, I've been here. Now where do I go? Because you will fall back on yourself pretty often.
Yeah, yeah. After you get into like get a couple levels behind you, the maps grow significantly. I wasn't a big fan of having to draw on the wall so often because there are a lot of junctions and things that you do have to stop and take notes, or you will go in circles. What I did appreciate though is the fact that when you place the climbing spikes, I forget what they're called, those are persistent until you finish the level. So that's another way that you can kind of mark where you've been versus where you haven't been, is just by leaving those things in the wall everywhere. And I found that a lot more quick and easy to do
Oh,
versus
nice.
stopping and grabbing the marker and stuff.
I didn't even think about that. That's great. There's also like stalactites and stalagmites that you can bring up your hammer and destroy those. And so one of my things, that's so smart. Why didn't I think to leave these climbing pegs anywhere? One of my things was make sure you don't destroy any stalactites unless you've headed in that direction. If there's any still existing, I haven't been that way yet. So
So that's something I didn't think about, but that's right.
you've got a couple different things going on here. The climbing pegs I think are really cool. You just kind of spawn them in your hand, you stab them into the wall, and then you climb around with them. You hold L2 and R2 to like hold your breath and then get through some really tight areas as quickly as you possibly can, and or you'll die. like, and I don't know, man. I don't mean to jump the gun here, but I think what they've got here is a great proof of concept. They've got a handful of levels, like 5 levels that you can get through in about 45 minutes, I think, and a couple horror levels, which I think I'm gonna have to leave up to you because I saw a spider and noped out really fast. And then it's over. But they're promising they've got other levels already on the menu saying coming soon. They put out a video talking about all the different things that are coming to the game. I mean, very soon, and of course over like the next however long they're talking about all the improvements that they're certainly going to update this game constantly. So I think there's a little bit of trust that we have to put in the developer when we talk about this and say, hey, do you recommend picking this up for $15? And I'm kind of at a yes. I think it's very cool for what it's doing. It's doing something different than what other games have done. This is so if you like exploring like Subside, then I think you're probably going to like this. But you also have to put a lot of faith into the developer that like they're going to keep updating this. They've talked about all sorts of different stuff. But let me backtrack a little bit because I don't want to put the cart before the horse. What do you think the value is here, Wes, before any of the updates get added to this over the next few weeks, few months, next rest of the year?
I'm kind of where you're at with it. You literally took the words out of my mouth. I think they have a good concept here that they could build into a good game if they get the support that they need to be able to support it for years. I mean, this was pretty much what I expected it to be exactly. And if
Mm.
you saw us talking about this on the recent episode, pretty much everything that we thought it was going to be is exactly what it is. Um, I would, over time, I would like, honestly, I never thought I'd say this. I'd like to see it become more like Subside, where, Subside has a lot more like eye candy to
Hmm.
it. And I don't just mean that in terms of like visuals, but like if you were really exploring these caves, when you come to some of these openings, you would expect some of them to be just massive and have unique and beautiful to look at natural features. Like maybe you see some light peeking through an opening in the roof, and maybe that's being caused by a waterfall that's kind of eroded down into it. I would expect to see some wildlife, like some weird, albino creatures that have never seen light. I would expect to see bats, lots and lots of bats. And with that bat guana or whatever it's called, bat shit on the floor of the thing. Like I would want this to be super, super realistic. And if so, it would have a lot more value. Um, Also, I would like to see it follow Subside in the idea that, um, you know, progressing through the game and kind of, I don't know, exploring allows you to unlock things that were previously inaccessible to you, whether that be through gaining access to new tools or what have you. Um, I think the base that they've got here. Um, Allows for them to grow into the picture I just painted. But it remains to be seen whether or not that will come to pass. Now, with that said, there are some things that this game has that Subside does not have, or some things that this game is going to have that Subside doesn't. First of all, multiplayer support that they're teasing for this game, which could be cool if the levels are kind of adapted to allow for that kind of play. That could be cool. I also appreciate the fact that while minimal, there is a story to this. Like you are playing through levels, and as you make it through each cave, you unlock a bit more story. And minimal as it may seem, it does give you something to kind of work through and work toward. And I do appreciate that. Um, to answer your initial question, like what's the value proposition here? I think they've got the right price tag on it. For what's already here, I think $15 is fair. And if you think that the concept is something that you would like to see come to the library, then you'll want to support the developer now by picking this game up. For all intents and purposes, this is an early access launch,
Yep.
and the purpose of an early access launch is to give the studio the support that they need to make the game that they want to make. So.
I made things in the chat says water should fill the cave slowly, so you should try to hurry up and get the heck out. It sounds
Love it.
like, yeah, I mean, like the potential is endless for stuff like that. And one of the things that they are adding, and that they talk about in this very trailer that I'm showing you, is new mechanics like sliding and diving. And I will say one of the weird things they've got to. There's still a little bit of work that needs to be done on the movement as far as I'm concerned. There were a couple times that even when I was holding my breath and trying to get through a cave quickly, I just couldn't move forward anymore. Like I got stuck and then have to eke my way back or just die and have to try it again.
Yep.
Or sometimes like you're supposed to be at least be able to use the analog stick to kind of like to move around a little bit. And sometimes it seems like the game doesn't know like whether you're able to stand at a certain point or whether you're crouching or what it's doing. So there's a couple moments where you're just like this could be a little bit more polished. But man, I gotta say I love what you are describing, Wes. So I'm okay with these cave systems looking so repetitive because that's what a cave system would look like. But when you come to a clearing there needs to be a reward. There needs to be this thing that you go, this made it all worthwhile, and not only be something very beautiful to look at, but give you a cool collectible to find or advance the story a little bit more, as some of it does in the story here. But also like give you allow you to really feel like you're breathing a sigh of relief, because if I found myself, at least with the last level, getting a little bit of a little claustrophobic, and just being like, okay, I'm starting to actually get irritated that I can't find my way out, because it's stressing me out that like I just don't, I keep going around in circles, and I keep finding my own drawings, and my drawings weren't descriptive enough to tell me which way I fucking came from. And it was like, and I started, and there was a frustration that was building, not because I sucked at the game, but because there was this external factor, this claustrophobia that was impacting my ability to even think clearly while I was playing it. And I was like, this is the kind of shit that I think VR is great at. This game would suck on a flat screen. Like there'd be no point in it. There'd be no point in it at all on a flat screen. But in VR, I was like, you know what? This not only is it great in VR, it's VR AF, right? And I love the tools they give you, and I love. There's even like, you see the thing you use to clean your gloves off.
Yeah, it was a scraper. You scrape the mud off your gloves.
Like, is that why I wasn't able to move after a little while? Like, was that part of my problem? Like, I don't even know.
You know, I never used that thing after they introduced it. I bet that's right. I bet you're right. But it did seem like there were a couple of times, like you said, where you just kind of get stuck in a corner and your hands don't seem to register with anything.
Yeah.
So maybe it was the gloves, or maybe it was the game just kind of crapping out. For what it's worth, there are three body positions that you can be in the game. So you can be fully standing up when you have space. You can crouch, which allows you to crawl around slowly, or you can go completely prone. When you're prone, the thumbstick doesn't work anymore. You have to use your hands at that point. So I think some of the time, maybe not knowing what position you're in can cause a little bit of confusion with it. I will say that the hold your breath controls do require some mastery, because the way they want you to do it is to hold your breath, you have to squeeze both triggers, but to crawl, you have to grab with the grips. Right. So the way that you make your way through these tight spaces is by keeping the triggers pulled, but letting go of the grip buttons. And it's not something that comes naturally. You have to practice it a little bit before you're even able to do it. I died immediately the first time I came to one of those tight spaces.
Yeah, it's weird. It seems like something that would be common sense, but convincing your brain to do something that you're envisioning, it took a second for me too. What I love is the stuff that they're teasing here. I mean, not only just the multiplayer, the sliding and the diving, that's great. Sliding is important because, again, I had to kind of almost climb down holes. Like I could force myself to fall into a hole if I really positioned myself properly. But it's like, why am I not able to just like kind of slide down these steep slopes? Diving, swimming, like all of that, I think is going to really add to the gameplay. You're talking about haptic vest support, climbing ropes, which is going to be great. And I actually hope once they introduce the climbing ropes, when you get to the end of any of the caves, there's a rope that you grab to exit the cave, but you don't actually climb up it. It just brings up your tablet and you click, oh yeah, leave the cave. I want to climb up, and as I'm climbing up, I want it to fade bright white, right, to make it feel like, okay, I'm leaving this world behind, and I'm going topside, right? So maybe when they introduce the climbing rope to the game, they'll be able to implement something like that. But it's a bunch of small suggestions, and it sounds like they're open to these suggestions too, right? I guarantee you, in a year from now, this game's going to be completely different than the game that we just played today.
Yeah, they you can tell they want feedback legitimately, because they're while they have a good idea of where they want to go, they're open to suggestion in a big way here. And if someone has some brilliant idea into what this game could be, they're all for it, including new game modes and everything. So, while a lot of the kind of feedback I have is just kind of a bunch of small things that would help increase the immersion and the the ability for me to stay in something like this a lot longer, something to break up the monotony of what's here. I'm sure that some of the more creative people out there will have some very good ideas into what this can become. Um, I just want it to be more real, man. I want when I'm climbing down some of these holes, I want the dirt to be crumbling around me. I want to see it and I want to hear it. I want to feel it. Like it would if you were doing it in real life. I want to when I have multiple ways to go, I want to have to judge which way seems the safest and which way might crumble on my head and kill me, right? There's no aspect of that in here as what I can tell so far, where if you go down this way, the roof might come down on you and you might get stuck. That should be in there. But again, what they've got here is a solid start. It is very immersive. I did turn the music off. Like there's music in the game, and I felt like while the music was good, like I liked the music, I don't think that the scenario justified music. Like I wanted to be immersed in the cave atmosphere as if I were doing it in real life. So I turned that off pretty much immediately. But again, a good solid first step here, and hopefully the game gets enough support that it grows into something substantial.
Kill Artist One, the Dreamweaver Game Cat in the chat says you should have a small hammer to beat in the climbing pins to add immersion. You do have a small hammer to
Yeah.
fucking take out the stalactites and stalagmites. And then in the teaser that they were showing with all the updates that are coming, they actually show you destroying obstacles by putting in the pins and then hammering them. So I don't even know if I'm guessing you could probably hammer those pins in now. I'm guessing. I don't even
Probably.
know. Yeah.
I didn't try it. I did try hammering the spiders though, and that had no effect. So
Please,
big thumbs down on that.
That's the one thing I did before I fucking quit out of the horror mode is I saw a spider and I was like, I'm going the other way, and there was no other way to go. But so I just took out my hammer and went like a little baby, dude. Like, I mean, like talk about the least masculine display I've ever put on in my life, and that's saying something. Couldn't kill the spider with my little hammer. So okay, so I played the horror mode for all of 30 seconds. What am I supposed to do? And what else did you encounter in that mode?
It's basically a higher difficulty level, right? That has a lot more junction points and a lot more ways for you to get lost. I think that the battery on your headlamp is a little bit less, so you have less time to figure it out. So one thing we didn't mention is when your battery goes out on your headlamp, game over. No save points. You go all the way back to the beginning. You're dead because if it's dark, you're dead.
That never happened to me. So I didn't even know there was a time limit going on like that.
There is, and you're right. It's the regular story mode is pretty easy, but in the horror mode, my headlamp did run out. Actually, with that said, I did burn a lot of time in the horror mode because I did experience a bug where, I found myself climbing through these tunnels and trying to figure my way out. And then I saw one that had some bright light at the end of the tunnel. I said, well, there's the way out, obviously. And I climbed into it and it wasn't the way out. What actually had happened is the next part of the cave had not spawned in. So as when I walked through it, the entire cave system behind me and everywhere disappeared. And the white I was seeing was actually just the cloudy skybox from outside the cave. And all of the spikes that I had laid were visible. I could see them for like miles behind me. And all of the spiders were visible. So you could see all the spiders climbing around in midair. But this happened a couple of times in the horror mode. And then my time ran out and I died. And I didn't try it again after that. But essentially the horror mode is just a higher difficulty level. And then there's also spiders that if they get into your personal space for like 2 or 3 seconds, it will kill you. Now there could be more to it than that. There are multiple horror levels. I only played like until I died in the first one. Maybe there's other stuff besides spiders. Um, but you can't kill them. I did move one with my hand once and get around it. But I would hope with a future update, you would be able to hit them with the hammer and kind of knock them back, or stab them with the spike and just, you know, kill them and stick them to the wall right like that. But they're big, like dinner plate sized spiders.
Yeah.
They're like the first spiders in Farpoint. For those of you who played Farpoint, they're
Uh,
about that size. The ones that jump at your face.
yeah. Uh, So I see a lot of comments here. Shades of Grey Matter says they could add a UV light where you follow otherwise hidden clues. There is a UV light. See, this is what we're talking about here. There's such a great foundation here, but like the UV light doesn't do too much. It like helps you find collectibles, like certain rocks, fossils that you're supposed to be looking for, that kind of stuff. So yeah, but it is already there, and so the potential for it being something more interesting is what we're looking for. 8-bit most play says so. Farpoint and Kill It with Fire have had no impact on your arachnophobia, Brian. Only made it worse, I think. Like in the spider level from Rush of Blood, it only made it worse. For whatever reason, spiders in VR are. I mean, in heights. I don't like heights in real life, and sometimes I'm just like, I'm just in like just cold sweats in VR because of the heights. Sometimes even when it's something super low poly. I remember there being a DLC for Zenith where there was a lot of climbing, and when you got really really high up, there was very little detail in the world, and Miles and I were just like shaking in VR trying to get through it. Doesn't make any sense.
Zenith had a pretty good sense of height, though. That game didn't get a lot of the credit for the things that it did well, but I love the climbing and gliding in that, and how you could like catch certain like breezes that allow you to
Yes.
glide further in certain directions. Yeah, I really enjoyed that part of Zenith.
So anyway, I think it sounds like Wes and I both really enjoyed this, and I do think that 15 is a little much for what you're getting here at launch, but I have faith, and I want to support what they're doing. I love when people do something different in VR, and so if I wasn't running this channel, I would be buying it right now, and telling 3R what kind of features I'm looking for and what other stuff I'd be looking for in the game. If you're that kind of person who really likes to communicate with developers, I would say grab it, talk to these guys, and let them know what you want after you've played it. And you're like, maybe they'll listen.
Yeah. You go to Wendy's, you get a large value meal from one of the mid-size hamburgers. It's like $12. This game's 15, so like it's definitely better than a Wendy's cheeseburger and
God, I
fries.
haven't been to Wendy's in a long time, and I guess I know why. $12. God damn.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. It makes more sense to go to like Applebee's or Chili's or something and order takeout from there and get like a much higher quality of food for the same price or less in some cases.
Dan Kiefer with the $5 says, Brian, Ian wanted to give you this, but he tripped and fell into a Sarlacc pit. Thank you, Dan. Glad we got Ian all sorted out.
Yeah, I hope he feels better. He was freaking out for a minute.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but obviously, like keep me posted, Ian. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Red Rover, the effing game cat with the $2 says they should have had David Attenborough narrating. The voiceovers weren't bad, I will say. They're telling a story. It's a fairly wholesome story about like family and like you joining the club. You're joining a club. I think that your parents were in the spelunking club called Crave. That's where it comes from. And so there you do find like cassette tapes where it's like these audio logs, and you learn a little bit more about like your family and shit as you play, which is nice. But again, it could go. I could use 5 more hours of that and see where the story evolves into.
Yes, it's like, so your father has kind of been an absentee father, and now that you're coming of age, he's trying to reconnect and explain what he was doing those years while he was away, and apparently it had a lot to do with this cave climbing club. So I'd love to see the story take some dark turn if you keep progressing through it, where like there's this cult that meets underground in the cave and doing all kinds of what crazy shit. But probably not.
Uh, Sign me up, man. Let's sacrifice some fucking virgins.
There we go.
I don't know. That probably came off stranger than it was supposed to. The hippie pickle with the level 2 membership says the horror mode has collectibles you need to get to exit. I found the exit but didn't have the collectibles. Then he had the same crash as you. That sucks.
Good to know.
Game Cato with the Australian $10 says Struth Cobber. We learned about Struth Cobber earlier in the week. It says Extreme Multi Update is so fun. Had so much fun playing the very first online PSVR2 race with the developers vid on my YouTube. And last night played hours with Ducry 42, the Game Cat. Awesome. If anybody doesn't know, I think we talked about this last week. Extreme 90s skiing VR got a 4-player multiplayer update, and for me that's going to be the reason to get back in. I kind of lost interest a little bit while I was playing solo, and started focusing on the things I didn't like instead of the things I did like. But I think getting in there and having being able to compete with people and go down the slopes with people, I think is going to give me some reason to give it another shot. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Extreme 90s skiing. That's another $15 game, isn't it? Well, I think so. I think they said they're going to raise the price though, by just like a couple dollars in a week or so. Let's see, 90s Extreme skiing. I'm signed in, so it just says purchased. But good stuff though. Yeah, good stuff. Hopefully it's great. Game Cato says it's great because I really want to see Tuner Max succeed. They're another studio that is constantly trying innovative things in VR and giving us something more than just another first-person shooter, or for some of you, just another horror game. So be curious to see how this one turned out. What's next? Oh, the big story. This is great, Wes. This is great. We get the announcement of Project Motor Racing. This is a full-fledged racing game, Wes. It is a $70 title, or you can get it bundled with this year one season pass for $100. So, if nothing else, they're promising a lot. And it's coming out November 25th of this year. Some cats were pressing the developers about VR, and they said it is coming to PSVR2. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit after launch. So let me see if I have that image handy. There it is. The developer said VR will be on both PC and console, although console VR will be coming later than PC. So I think what we can assume from this is that the game will launch probably flat screen with flat screen support for PC and console, and then sometime after that, the PC will get VR support, and then sometime after that, PlayStation 5 will get PSVR2 support. So likely not this year, I guess, if this is already slated for November. Did you get to watch? Did you get to watch the trailer for this, Wes?
I watched a little bit of it as we were preparing to go live. I mean, it looks nice. Yeah, I mean, it looks like. I mean, the images look great. You know, obviously, you can't tell a lot about how it's going to play or how it's going to look in VR from that. But this does not seem to be like a Gran Turismo clone. It does seem like there's going to be some differences here, which I think is good for them, right? Because obviously, if you're planning yourself to be a direct competitor to Gran Turismo, you're going to lose.
Right.
But no, there seems to be a lot of content here. There's 70 plus cars, 27 tracks. I mean, they've got a career mode. I mean, everything you want to hear from this type of game. I expect that they're not going to create a lot of buzz on PC because it's pretty standard for these racing games to support VR
Right.
on PC, but that is not the case on PlayStation. So I think when this comes to PSVR, they're going to be met with a lot of fanfare, assuming, of course, that they do it right.
Yeah, it looks like they've got this massive focus on the single player campaign, which is what this entire trailer is about. And that's if you look at the comments on YouTube, you're gonna find a lot of people who are talking about like why don't other racing games have this kind of dedication to how a single player campaign plays. So what they talk about a lot here is like a whole motorsports economy where they in their words they say it's you against your wallet, meaning like you can go do this whole rags to riches story where there's every race you do is like prizes and entry fees. There's finances that you have to deal with for your entire team, sponsorships. All the sponsorships are different and some of them require things of you. Very specific results they're looking for. And then on the off season. You do all these races to raise money. So it seems like it's really, really in depth, but of course it's got the full online component as well. So that's awesome. This trailer looks good. It sounds like these guys really know what they're doing. But something I wanted to point out, a second, is here we go. I want to actually, oops, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Can you guys hear that? If you can, I didn't mean for you to hear it. All right.
But I don't hear anything at all anyway. So.
Perfect. Well, we didn't want you to hear it. I didn't want them to hear it either. I have no idea. So yeah, the very first comment's about sometime someone did a career mode that you can actually get lost in. What a time to be alive. The second one is this is the kind of career mode I wish Gran Turismo 7 had. So for all these racing sim fans, like this is obviously doing something different. The third comment is finally a single player focused simulator. Sick and tired of all the lazy sim titles in the market. So listen, people who really, get into this stuff, this is delivering on something they've been asking for. The most interesting thing though, isn't those comments or aren't those comments. It's all of the other comments that follow. And I see a lot of you here. Fatboy Vernon says, this game has huge potential. Please give the dev support and expertise needed to get this running on PlayStation VR2. Team Bird says day one purchase if there's PSVR2 features. T Jams, I'm sorry, that's probably not what your name is, but it's really small and my eyes are tired. Jeff Strange says hopefully VR friendly for PS5. iJams says PSVR2 please. We're fed up with only having one racing game in VR. Heads up, we have two. Don't forget about Galaxy Kart. It better be fast says this needs to be on VR2. Next comment, Omnipotent Goku says, please bring this to PSVR2. Mike ENZ says, support PSVR2 and I'm in. Right Shina said, PSVR2, then I'm all in. Next comment, Nicholas Peralta says, PSVR2 please. There's a lot of gamers who want this game. Dude, it's nonstop. I'm stopping because I'm probably boring the crap out of you. But like, you just keep scrolling and it's just PSVR2, 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 PSVR2. Bro, this is showing something here. This is showing, again, that there's competition on the flat screen for racing games, but there's not a lot of competition on PS5 at least, or on PSVR2 for racing games, right? So you bring your games to PSVR2, they're probably going to sell because we're missing important games in very important genres, and so there's just this passion from the PSVR2 community that we don't really see anywhere else, and it's just amazing. I couldn't believe it as I was scrolling through this. It just keeps going and going and going. You're probably seeing some of your own names in here. This is incredible, absolutely incredible, you guys. So just want to say, good job, and also we're getting what you asked for, which is awesome.
Just for those of you out there that are like raising sim enthusiasts and might be super excited for this, there is a gameplay impressions video up on YouTube right now on the Traxion GG channel. I guess they went to the studio or someplace and played a demo of this and did a 20-minute video on it. So there's that for those that want to check out more. They say it's a spiritual successor to GTR and Project Cars. GTR I'm not familiar with. Project Cars I am familiar with. So yeah, apparently there is some pedigree behind the studio here, and this isn't just some startup making their first racing game. This studio has some experience.
Man, between this news And I don't know if you caught this one, but we got word from the Assetto Corsa team that they're looking into PSVR2 support as well. I mean, we went from being like, oh, all we've got is Gran Turismo to being like, whoa, we got 3 fucking really potentially great racing sims here, all coming to PSVR2. So definitely let us know in the chat here and in the comments if this is something that you guys are excited about. There's certainly an element of like, man, if you're not a racing sim fan, like, was Gran Turismo enough? Did you get your fill? But I just think, for my taste, there's never enough of anything. If something's great, we always need more of it. That's why every single horror game that gets announced, I get real excited about.
Yeah, I can shoot zombies for years, my friend.
Bob Sarkoff, the Underground Gamecat, says, "Don't forget Grand Rush VR highway car traffic racing simulator." That's true. That's true. You can't leave that, or Extreme Racing VR out, or Truck Simulator VR. We've got plenty of.
And we do have
games.
the upcoming Meteorite game. That's a racing game too, right?
Oh, Meteora. Yep.
Meteora. There you go.
Yep. Oh man. Looper says Assetto Corsa Evo is extremely resource hungry, so expect Firmament or Green Hell type of story. I wouldn't expect it that from them. I mean, maybe at launch, right? Maybe there'll be an issue at launch, but like, I don't know. I just feel like racing games are a different story altogether. You know, and when you're confined to tracks. When actually, wait, was this Assetto Corsa? I feel like I'm talking out of my ass right now. Was Evo? It's not. What
It's
was
the most
the deal with
recent
that?
one.
Yeah,
Or maybe it's one of the more recent ones, but like the original Assetto Corsa games also supported VR. I don't know which of those are on PlayStation 5 and which ones aren't. Um, but it would be nice if like the original Assetto Corsa were the one. That's the one that I hear people talking about the most is the original Assetto Corsa VR. But Evo, I haven't played any of them, so I can't really speak firsthand about it. But yeah, I think what Looper's saying is true. Evo has a reputation for not running super well in VR.
gotcha. Okay, is that just? Do they have? Is Assetto Corsa flat screen on PlayStation 5 right now? I guess that's where my
Don't
head.
know.
So I sort of
Yeah, no.
lost. All right. Either way, we always hope for the best, and hopefully these the Firmament stories become fewer and further between as time goes on, and people learn to develop for PSVR2, as it seems like overall has been the case. All right, Wes, we're moving right along here. This is great. Moving right along. Give me 1 second. I don't know what just happened. There we go. Now we're good. We're back. What's up, Jamie? Out with the level 3 membership. That's it. Just a little surprise face. That's it. What's up, Jay? Hopefully you're doing well. All right, man. Let's do a little 4-minute challenge and wrap this sucker up. Okay, Assetto Corsa is not on PS5 yet. All right, that's what I'm. So, I think that's where my head was at. I started to go down a path with Assetto Corsa being like, well, if it's, when you're developing for a single spec or PS5 or PS5 Pro, right? It's like, I think it's a lot different than when you're developing for PCs and some really high end PCs and try to get them running on low end PCs and all that. But again, Firmament happened, so there's no guarantees that anything's going to be great, well optimized for VR. So we shall see. Hope for the best. Wes, it's my turn to host 4-minute challenge. Are you ready for this?
I am as ready as I typically am, which is not at all.
Not a good sign. All right. Well, everybody in the chat, make sure you help him out. I've got a PSVR1 or PSVR2 game up in the set of mine, and make sure you guys in the chat help him out. He's got an infinite number of yes or no questions to ask, but only 4 minutes to ask in. So let's figure this shit out. On your mark. Get Des. Go.
Is this game on PSVR 2?
No.
Okay. PSVR 1 only. Is this game on other platforms?
Yes, but I'm gonna look it up just to make sure.
Okay.
It is. Yep.
Okay? Is this game on Steam?
Yep.
Is it on Quest?
I don't believe so. I'm looking that up now.
Okay. Is it a racing game?
Uh, oh, it's hold on a second. It's on Rift, not Quest. It's not a racing
So
game.
it's a old school PCVR game that also came to PlayStation VR1. Is there a flat version of this game?
Yes.
So there is a flat version. Is it from a well-known franchise?
No.
Okay. There's a flat version. It's um, I would imagine then that this is probably from the first half of the PSVR life cycle.
Yes.
Is it story driven?
There's a story. I wouldn't say it's story driven, but there's a story that pushes you along.
Okay. Is it first person,
Yes.
full locomotion?
Yes.
Okay. Support move controllers?
Yes.
Support any other controllers?
Yes.
Does it support the aim controller?
No.
Just a dual shock then, I suppose.
Yeah.
So moves in dual shock, full locomotion, first person, with some story. Is it a horror game?
Nope.
Science fiction?
Yeah.
It's a sci-fi game. Okay. Horror, but sci-fi. Is it
Minute and 45 seconds.
do you shoot things in this game?
Yep.
Okay, so it's a sci-fi shooter that has a flat version. Keep that in mind.
Clarification.
But not
Clarification. You do not shoot with guns.
shoot with guns. All right. So there are some sort of projectiles, but they're not guns. Was it archery then? Like it doesn't really
No.
make sense. No. So it's probably some kind of like a laser something. All right. I think ATEX Cybernetic is flat to my knowledge. Persistence is horror. And I don't even think persistence supported move controllers.
It didn't.
I mean, I don't think so. This isn't a Jeff Minter game, is it?
No.
I think so. Okay. Are there any kind of like puzzling going on in here?
No.
Okay. Multiplayer?
No.
Is this a good game?
Yeah. It's all right. I think we were excited about it when it first came out, but probably didn't age well.
Did the game was it implied that the game would have a sequel that never came?
I don't remember. My guess is no. No. I'm gonna give you one more question. We're out of time. One more question and a guess.
You said no puzzles, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's puzzles, it's like, where do I go? I'm looking for something type thing, not puzzles. Looper says no effing idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it like outer space type?
There's some outer space stuff. And that's your final question. What's your guess?
Is this the Solus Project?
Ooh, that would have been a good one. Nope. In fact, it is coming from Pentadimensional Games, October 17th, 2017. That's pretty fucking early in the lifespan of PSVR 1. That's literally the first year. Megaton Rainfall. Remember this game?
Megaton Rainfall. This was the first um, according to some superhero game in VR. Although I didn't really consider it to be that. But yeah, I remember Megaton Rainfall.
I have no
This is
idea where the sound is coming from. Can you guys hear sound? Not you, us. You guys out there? So it's just me. It's in my head. It doesn't exist. Hold on 1 second. So funny. There we go. God
you can
damn.
play Megaton Rainfall flat.
Yeah. Yep. An
Wow,
early
that must
hybrid game.
Terrible.
Yeah, for sure. This actually launched with DualShock only, and then they added move support, and I remember hating the move support. I just could not wrap my head around it. I also didn't give it a lot of time. I was just, I'd already played and beaten the game. Shades of Grey Matter says, "I'm not hearing porn." No, it's not what's playing. That's not what was playing. I promise. Although on any other day. Yeah, no, Megaton Rainfall was an interesting title, made by one guy. It was this kind of thing where you're like, wow, if one person can do this, like, what could a whole team do? And the answer we learned over the next few years was not much better. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is a prime example of the type of things we used to think were good, right? When we were still in love with everything that came to VR.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty bare bones. I mean, I don't want to call it a tech demo. It's a little more than that, but not much more than that. Yeah. I think it was pretty cool. I think, like, if I recall, there were some pretty cool sound effects of people dying in it, which I thought were pretty cool. People screaming out and crying.
Yeah. You're
Um,
protecting the city, and as the buildings fell, you just hear them going, "Ah, ah," and like people running down
yeah,
the streets and shit. It was pretty impressive for what it was. But,
I think it was my
uh,
favorite part of the game.
um, who's it? I saw Zach Lightning in the chat. It says Desert pissed me off so much with that review. It's a game. Why did you look at a map? I don't even know what that means. Des did this review? That doesn't. All right. I'll have to watch and see what you're talking about because I don't remember this at all.
Did you guys do a Why We Love on it? Maybe.
We did Why We Love on pretty much everything, so potentially that was it. But I don't
Probably.
even
Yeah.
know. Was there a map in the game? I don't even remember this. I don't know. Oh well, I'll figure it out, Zach. All right, man. All right. It's time for us to wrap this sucker up. Thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate you all very, very much on this bonus. It's a bonus for us. It's just another Wednesday for you guys, but we really didn't expect to be here. So I'm really happy we got to do this. Make sure you go check out Virtual Strangers. The links for Wes's channel is in the description below. Remember, that's where he talks about not just PlayStation VR2 with his friends, but all VR. And so if you're a PC gamer and you're modding games so that you can play them in VR, that might be a good place to stop in. What's going on? What do you got? What do you got planned for future streams and stuff, Wes?
Well, Roots and I had an episode planned for this week until his computer crapped out. We're hoping that he gets it back up before the end of the week, and the plan is to do the Midnight Walk and The Last of Us Part 1 VR mod.
Last of Us Part 1.
That's what we're planning on doing next. Now, with that said, the upload showcase is on Friday, and if what I'm hearing is correct, there's going to be some ridiculous amount of new trailers being released that day. So maybe we'll just have a numbered episode this weekend, kind of recapping, assuming that it isn't all garbage. But as for right now, we're planning on doing gameplay impressions of Midnight Walk and The Last of Us.
Nice. Quick question based on what you've heard, is it actual stuff happening in the Upload VR showcase, or are other developers and publishers just jumping on that time as they like to do to get some extra coverage?
I don't want to reveal too much because I don't know how much of this is privileged information versus things that are public, because I did hear it at work. But I heard that there's a lot of trailers for this, and I don't know if they're planning on breaking it up into like a pre-show versus regular show. But I would imagine that there will be at least 2 hours of show here.
Whoa.
or more. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe I should plan on streaming that. It looks like it's happening Friday at 1 p.m. I just looked it up. It's all scheduled, ready to go. So I maybe we'll stream that, and then we'll have a lot to talk about on Gamescast Friday night. So let me know in the chat and in the comments below if you guys want to watch along with that. I get a little bit apprehensive about the Upload VR showcases, right? Like because they're so quest heavy. But I do remember the last one they did was a little bit more balanced, and there was stuff for us to be excited about. And I think the word is getting out,
That's
Wes.
what I'm hoping.
Word
I'm hoping
about
that they
PSVR.
curate it a bit, and that they keep a lot of these like questy tech demo-y stuff in like the pre-show, and then like the main event is like a solid hour of good stuff. But we'll see.
That works for me. That would be nice. All right, you guys. Well, thanks to everybody who supports the channel. Whether you are a member here or you support us on patreon.com/withoutparole or you tip during the show, intentionally or unintentionally. We appreciate you. Plus, we're really just happy that you're here. So thanks for being part of this community. Come join us over on Discord. The link for that is in the description below. Come hang out. But even if I don't know. Sometimes I just forget how to end the show, Wes. So thanks everybody. We love you so very much. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. We love you just as much. Happy Wednesday, Wes.
Happy Wednesday, Brian. Happy Wednesday, Cats, and happy Wednesday, those of you out there who didn't say a goddamn word.
That's it. That's the line.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But we
Shades of Grey Matter in the chat says, also, remember when Brian used to do showcases? That was awesome. Yeah, we used to do the award show, and it used to kill me every single year. And we would have the whole community vote for their favorite games in every single genre, and then we'd give awards based on the community votes. And I'd, for months, email developers and publishers asking for reveals. Is your game coming to PSVR2? Can you give us any kind of new information, a release date, a new trailer, anything? And so it would be like 2 or 3 months of nonstop work. And then like I'd get 8,000 views on the video total, all said and done. And then everyone would be like, where's your Resident Evil 4 review, huh? Like, well, I didn't do it because I was working on this big event for you guys. And so I was like, like it's a great thing for the community, but it doesn't actually bring in new subscribers. It doesn't get a ton of views. That said, I love it. I really do. I think it's such a special thing that we can do. That I did email Mickey over at Perp and said, hey, I'd love to bring this back. But like your involvement, if we were to bring it back, your involvement would have to be like tenfold. Right? It's like Without Parole and Perp Games presents something that Perp Games fucking did most of, right? It's like I can host it and I can do everything, but I was like, but you get more connections than I do, and I was like, maybe we should bring it back. And so we're in negotiations as to how we can make that happen. It would be this is the time we guys start planning it, right? In July to be able to put on a show in December. So I will keep you guys updated on all of that. Wes, I think it's time to take a look back at Without Parole history before we get out of here. Let me see if I can't find an image from the Wayback Machine.
How far back?
I think we're going to go all the way back to July 11th, 2022. We're going to scroll and see what that brings us. I feel like we need some like magical music for the transition or something. Is this it? I think this is it. The headline reads, check it out. There are tons of new, awesome VR dreams. Plus, Swordsman Finisher update this week. Bro, remember when Dreams came out and we could just create nonstop content with Dreams? Because it was just people making new games for us to play like daily. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was a great fallback when you didn't have a topic, right? You could just go spend a few hours in Dreams just scrolling through the all of the user-made stuff in there. And there was always good stuff, right? There was always gems. that you would find. And I feel like we did 10 minutes on dreams last week or something,
Yeah.
talking about what a shame it was that this didn't, like, they didn't take the final step with it. Like, if they had only brought it to PSVR2 and supported it through this generation, they could have realized so much of their original vision and not scrapped all of that they invested in building this over 8 years, like almost a decade building this, and in just a few years of support. Yeah, what a terrible missed opportunity. And it makes me curious, man. Like we said it, like we said it last week, like when we break out the PSVR for October, maybe we need to duck into dreams for a little while. And I'm sure people are still making stuff in there.
Yeah. Yo, I'm sure. And I don't know if Bad Robo's here today. Sometimes he hangs out in the chat during these things. But man, like some of the stuff that he was creating, this is how I found Bad Robo. Some of the stuff he was creating was so well done visually, right? From a technical perspective, like just really learning how to utilize dreams to its full potential. He was making games that looked better than like the AAA games we were getting on PSVR1. Like really just showcasing what an amazing tool set dreams was if you knew how to use it, if you wanted to take the time and really get good at it and learn every aspect. So some of those people who are making those games, even the people who are making some of the less technically apt ones, right? There were people who were just making fun games. It was amazing. It was amazing to see the creativity, and I'd love to get back in there and see if those people are still busting their ass on this stuff.
Sure. Okay, I'd love to just revisit some of my old favorites. What was that shooter? Was it called Whiplash?
Yes, I'd completely forgotten his name. I know it's Evan, right? What's his?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Fuck.
Somebody that was active in the community.
Yeah, I would DM him. I DM him every so often, man, and I just blanked on his name for whatever reason just now. I'm so sorry that I can't remember your name right now, because like I even like interviewed him. I don't know if I ever put the interview up on the channel, but he's a great dude. He's a great dude and made great stuff. All right, we should get out of here before I embarrass myself and forget more people's name that I should know. Everyone, have a good night. We love you all. War Garble, thank you. Ethan,